Hi everyone. I've posted on Blackboard a very long video by ArtProf on taking photographs of your artwork to share with the class on in our discussion groups and for turning in assignments online. It's over an hour long, so I'm going to do kind of a brief version of it and explain what you need to do to get the best quality images with very little equipment. All you need is if you have a smartphone, you'll be all set, and I'll show you a couple of strategies. Um, Ideally, what you want to do is, if you can, try to take your photograph outside on an overcast day or in a shadow, and I'll show you that a little bit later. If you are taking your photographs indoors or at night, what you want to do ideally is have enough light. Now, I'm here in my studio, and I have light coming from many different directions, and that's going to cut down on shadows. If you have a couple of clip lamps, or a couple of desk lamps that you can put on either side of your image, or better yet, if you can do it in the daytime with an open window that is 90 degrees to the wall that you're going to put your work on, that would work as well. So you just don't want direct light or direct sunlight on your work. And if you use artificial lighting, you want to have as many lights on as possible, and you want to have it coming from a number of different directions. And above all, avoid a situation where you're going to throw shadows onto your art. Okay? So in this case, I'm just going to photograph my work on a wall. And if you have something that you can, a nice blank area of wall that you can use, or you have some, maybe a large piece of cardboard or even your drawing board, something that you can attach to the wall. Barring that, you can just attach some tape to your drawing on the back, and I'm just using some art tape here. You can use the tape that comes in your kit, and just place it on your wall and try to get it as straight as possible. You can, of course, adjust your camera as you need to. What's nice about having a dark background here, or a slightly darker background, in this case I've got this wood panel, is that I'm going to include the edges of my image for this. So it will give me a contrast between my drawing paper and the wall behind it. So that's most of the time I'm going to want you to do that, is to include the edge of the paper. And I'll show you some cases where you might not do that. I'm just going to use my smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, you can use any digital camera, it will be fine. Smartphones take really good photographs now. And you don't want to use any filters. If you do use a filter for drawings, charcoal or pencil, I suggest you use the mono setting. That's what I have this on. And the other little trick that I like to do is, most of these cameras default to a wide angle view. So to kind of work against that a little bit, if you just zoom in slightly, ever so slightly, just a little pinch out, and that will kind of zoom in slightly, and it will get rid of that wide angle lens effect. Wide angle lenses tend to distort the image, so zooming in will kind of eliminate that. So in this case, I have a drawing that is in graphite, and one of the down, one of the sort of bad things about working indoors is that if I get a glare or something like that, I would have to move the lights. Because I mounted this onto the wall, I can't move the wall. So if I get a glare, I'm forced to move lighting around until the glare is gone. When we do this outside, we can move it around until the light is just right and we're getting as little glare as possible. So that's one of the benefits of being able to do it outside. But in this case, I'm going to just sort of keep my camera perpendicular to the floor and parallel to my image. Keep in mind that your cameras are usually offset on a phone, so if you think you're centering your phone makes sense, you don't really want to do that. You want to think your camera's off to one side, right? So you want to center your camera on your artwork, and I'm just going to back up until my image is there, and pay attention to the edges so that you get a very square photograph. Now I'm going to take what I think is a pretty square photo. Okay, and I would take a couple of them, what we call that bracketing, so that just in case your hand moves or you jiggle it a little bit, you might get a blurry shot. So I would always take 3 or 4 shots and or more, because you can always delete those. So I'm just going to pull back here and take another couple of shots. Now, my camera also has the option to put a little grid on the display, and that will help you get nice right angles so you're not distorting it. What you want to be careful about is don't point your camera down or up, or you'll get that shifting. You get a parallelogram effect or a trapezoidal effect of your drawing. So you want as little distortion as possible. Most of the time I'm going to ask you to photograph the whole thing. It'll give us a sense of scale for it. Now there are times when you might not want to, and I'll show you where you might not need to do the whole thing. So I'm going to take this off. And once you take the drawing down, take the tape off of it immediately, because the longer you leave tape on, the more damage it can do to your work. So here I have a drawing that doesn't use the whole page. I've just done a figure drawing, and the paper isn't really part of the composition. So in this case, I might crop out things I don't need. So I'm going to just kind of move in. I have my signature here. I do want to get that in this case. So I'm just going to get to a point where I just kind of compose it a little bit in the camera, and then I'll take a picture. And again, this is on mono, so I've gotten rid of all the color. You can do this after you take the photo, but I'm just going to do it here. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We're going to talk about uploading your photos together, and I will show you how to do that. I'm pretty sure you guys know how to get a photo from your camera onto your computer, or how to manipulate photos and move them around within your camera to get them onto websites or to Blackboard and so on. But we can talk about that if you don't. So that's indoors. This is indoors with artificial light. So now I'm going to show you an option for doing it out. So what I've done is I've come outside and I have this overhang, a porch. If you don't have a porch or an overhang, you just find the shadow side of whatever building you're in, just not direct sunlight. So you're looking for indirect light. I had to put up an umbrella because the light just started to creep in underneath my porch here, but you don't want any direct light on this at all. You want to do it in indirect light. And one of the benefits, you don't need anything fancy, you don't need an easel or anything, but what I'm using is my drawing board, or you can use any kind of piece of cardboard, just something again as a darker backing for the white paper. And what's nice about this is I can turn, see now that's too much light, I can turn this in different directions, and that will give me, instead of having to move lighting around inside to avoid glare or shadows, I can just move the board. So I can tilt it in different ways, so that's too much direct light, but if I do that, I've got a very even lighting on this. So again, same thing, just set your camera up, and we're going to take a photo, and I'm going to set it for mono because this is a drawing. You can really hear the cicadas today, it's a hot one. And then again, just zoom in a tiny bit and then back up so you get the full image in your frame, and take several pictures. Make sure it's squared up. Now it's a little trickier to square things up when you're doing this because you've moved the board, and so you have to be aware of whether the board is tilting. So pay really close attention to the shape of the paper. If the border isn't absolutely essential, again, you can kind of zoom in a little bit and that takes away some of that, but you still might get some distortion. See, if I take a picture, I'll do this and I'll post it. So I'll accidentally, on purpose, take a distorted picture, and then I'll try to make a more square one. And it takes a little doing to get all the edges to square up. And that looks pretty good. Take several shots, and you'll choose the best one. Okay, so that's my two thoughts about it. Indoors with artificial lighting or with a nearby open window that it gives you indirect light, or outside, just use a drawing board or a piece of cardboard, lean it up in the shadow side of a building or under an overhang of some kind if you have a porch, something like that, and you'll be able to take good pictures, okay? And we'll talk more about formatting. Usually just the size that your camera takes is fine. You shouldn't have to downsize them or anything. Our Blackboard should be able to handle all of that, so don't worry too much. Okay, so I hope that helps. Thanks.